everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is to try to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me. Because of the way they've formulated their coffee, like unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides more balance and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk, jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. I hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. Britt's laughing because she never gets to see this side of me. But Britt Dougherty, welcome to the show. Britt is the co-founder of Heywell. Yeah. So Britt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for having us.
Pumped to have you on. This one's been a long time in the making, I feel like. We've talked about this on and off. So I'm excited that we're finally making it happen.
Yeah, thanks for squeezing us in.
Yeah, of course. For everyone listening who doesn't know who you are, who may not know what Heywell is, can you give everyone just a quick background on you and the brand?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're Heywell. We make sparkling functional waters. We like to say they help people meet the demands of modern life. They're made with adaptogens, antioxidants, organic caffeine, and they're just great for when people need a little support for energy, immunity, focus, hydration, and stress. My co-founder, Ashley Selman, and I started this business, about 5 years ago.
Is that crazy? Like, that's got to feel like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it goes so fast. I mean, in some ways it feels like forever. Like I can hardly remember my life before. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
Well, let's dive into your story, because I think your story is it's unique in a way, but also it makes so much sense. And we've talked about this before. It's a cool background. So for everyone listening, Britt has been in CPG for a long time. And I think your experience, especially at Miller Coors, was a unique experience. And, we've had lunch before and you've told me some of the background of your story. But for everyone listening that obviously doesn't know that, when did you get into CPG? Did you mean to get into CPG? That's always a question I love to ask, is like, was it something you always dreamed of doing, was working in beverage?
No, I mean, my background really it was in consumer insights, actually. So I started, really in market research. And so I kind of worked in different aspects of consumer packaged goods and in the oil industry and, kind of moved around. But Ashley and I did spend about 20 years working in the beverage industry. So that's our most recent experience. We were both vice presidents of marketing, as you mentioned, at Miller Coors. And it was the most fun. The alcohol industry is so incredible. The people are awesome. But, after being in the industry for so long, we could just see that changes were coming. Ashley led P&L for big brands, like very high-end brands like Peroni and Blue Moon, to brands like Miller High Life. And my job was really leading all the marketing support functions. So I led futuring and brand strategy and portfolio strategy and the media team and brand experience and things like that. And so we spent so much time like looking out into the world thinking about, where consumers were going and what the future of the portfolio should look like. And we just could see younger consumers were drinking less. People wanted their food and beverage to work harder for them. And at the time, the company we were working at was really very focused on beer. And we loved the efficacy of the ingredients, like adaptogens. We'd mix these powders at our desks. Did you actually? You guys were just playing with it at first at your desk? Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, we were using them for ourselves. We loved that they made us feel good. And, but we just felt like there was always like a little something to be desired. Some of the ingredients maybe were intimidating. We're like, what is this thing that we're putting in our bodies? Or the brands that use them are like not super compelling, or they were like a hassle. Like I said, like you're mixing these powders and like dragging them around with you. But like mostly fundamentally, everything tasted pretty disgusting. Yeah. And for sure. We're like, why hasn't someone made this tasty and beautiful and high quality? And you can only make a brand for someone else for so long before you start to think about what it would be like to make a brand for yourself. And Ashley and I had worked together for 10 years at that point. And we're really the only senior women at our level. So we just spent a lot of time with each other,
Oh, cool.
supporting
I
each
didn't know
other.
that. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so we were like, you know what? We're going to go do this for ourselves. And we did.
Wow. That part of the story is so cool to me because, people listening, especially if you're in CPG, I'm sure they'll understand this. You guys were probably on a career path where, like, especially if you loved it. I think what's rare and what your story proclaims is most people at big CPG, I don't know how many people I really know that would say they like loved their job and their role, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people that leave to try to do entrepreneurship or some sort of entrepreneurial endeavor, they like didn't love that world. So for you guys both to love it and to be having fun along the way, do you remember like the first conversation that you and Ash had where you guys were like, should we like turn this into a business? Because that's always a huge leap. And for you guys where you were in your career, I'm sure you both were like, this is like a really big decision to make. So do you remember those early conversations?
I do. Ashley and I were out to lunch and we had just, been in my office. Ash used to love to come to my office because my desk was always covered in all of the new things because my team did futuring. We were always
Cool.
like, what's the latest thing? And we were kind of playing with them. And she's like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, I love this one, but it smells terrible. And we went to lunch after that and she was like, if they're not going to do this, we should do it. And I remember thinking like, okay, maybe we should. It's not one of those things that you do overnight. We're, very senior in our organization. We had built these really amazing careers for ourselves. We loved the teams that we worked with and, the organization. The more we talked about it, though, the more we really felt like there was like really a gap in the marketplace that not only for people like us that wanted something that was making wellness more simple and accessible, but we're not the only people that are looking for something like this. And the more we talked about it, the more compelling the idea became. And yeah, so we took the leap 6 years ago.
And when you guys decided to make the leap, did you guys start it as like a side hustle, or did you guys quit cold turkey and be like, hey, we're gonna go figure this out? Bye, guys.
We quit cold turkey.
Oh, damn! I didn't know that. Did you?
Yeah,
really?
we did. It
Good
was
for you guys. I didn't know that part of the story.
Honestly, it was maybe a little bit naive. I mean, we always say like if we had known what we were getting into, we might not have done that. I mean,
That's like the typical story, right?
Yeah. I mean, we were excited by this idea and we felt the potential and we decided to bet on ourselves and go. But yeah, we had no idea what kind of ride we were in for, especially given the fact that we ended up launching in March of 2020.
Yeah, it was good timing. It's good timing.
Yeah, which I 100%, don't recommend launching during a pandemic to anyone.
Not the best time. So you guys go, well, actually, hold on. I got to back up because I'm thinking about this now. What was the conversation like at home for both of you? Because like were your husbands like, wait, what do you want to do?
No, they thought we were insane. I mean, we were both making good money, on a great career path. And they were like, no, what are you doing? And, but honestly, they really believed in us and they thought the space we were talking about was interesting. But I would say like we would not be here without our spouses. I mean, they've both been incredible. Theo and Steve have been so supportive throughout this whole ride. But I remember the first time we brought home a prototype and having them try it and the look on their faces where they were like, oh, this is going to be a thing.
Oh, cool.
And that was such a validating moment because I think they were just believing in us and, they knew that we had made successful careers for ourselves. Why couldn't we make a successful career for ourselves as entrepreneurs? And they were just being supportive. But the first time they tried one of our first prototypes, they were like, oh, you could see them start to get really excited. It was fun.
That's really cool. And it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always say like entrepreneurs, there's two types. There's the kind that they have support behind them and there's the kind that don't. And I do think that's like such a big piece of it. And especially when you're at that part of your career, I mean, it's such a, like everyone kind of has to be on board. I think if you didn't have that, I don't know how it would even work. So
for sure. I mean, we were very lucky. I mean, our husband said insurance. I mean, there were things that, people don't have. And we had each other. Mm-hmm. I don't know how single founder entrepreneurs do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we are never in a bad mood at the same time. We are so complementary to each other's skills. And, this is a roller coaster of a journey. Sometimes you ride that roller coaster all day long. And to have someone sitting next to you when you're, clanking up that hill or, about ready to pick up your feet, it makes all the difference in the world.
It is that's such a true thing. It's did you know that before you guys jumped ship? Because obviously know Kyle. Like I knew that
Yeah.
with Kyle just because we'd worked together for so long before, and obviously you guys probably had the same thing because that's such an important piece of starting anything. I think that most people they probably meet and then they figure out if they're good if they're compatible after they've already started
Right.
it and started running. So did you guys
Right.
kind of get to check those boxes and you knew that getting into it from just
Yeah,
being
for
together?
sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't know how important it would be to have a co-founder until I got into it.
Mm,
But I knew that Ashley would be a good partner to me, and she knew that I would be a good partner to her because we had 10 years of working together under our belt already. And so you kind of learn each other's weird things and, how their ways of working. And, this is for sure a marriage, maybe even more intimate than one in a lot of ways.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I talk to Ashley more than I talk to my husband, really, because we spend all day together.
so true.
So you just really, I think it would be hard to start with someone when you don't know them because then you go through that learning curve while you're trying to grow a business. And I think that would make it extra hard.
Were you guys also on the same? What's the right way to phrase this? Were you guys on the same like wavelength when it came to like life? Because I know one thing I'm always curious with co-founders is like, are you kind of like starting work at the same time? Are you ending work at the same time? Are you working in the same nights? Are you both working on the week? Like it sounds so simple,
Yeah.
but like I could see how that could be a good thing or a bad thing if you're totally misaligned on when you're working and when you're not available type of thing.
Yeah. I would say that we're mostly aligned on those kinds of things, but we're especially aligned at a more macro level. So when we started this business, we wanted to create a place. That's the beauty of making your own business
Yeah.
is it can be exactly what you want it to be. And we wanted to be a place where not just us, but other people over time would want to work because we are being good leaders and we're being inclusive and we're being flexible in our ways of working. Ashley and I are both working moms, and we were, senior vice presidents at a huge corporation. We were traveling all the time and not seeing our kids maybe as often as we wanted, and we 100% work way more now,
Yeah. Isn't that
but we
funny?
get to, oh yeah, it's crazy. But we get to work on our terms. So if one of us wants to leave to grab the kids from school or run over to an event at school, I mean, we know we're going to be working at night anyway, and of course there's always times you're working on the weekends, so you get to flex to make those important things. And so even though we might work at different times or have slightly different schedules, we're aligned at that values level.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, it's really important, and that's a funny realization that I hadn't even thought to ask you, which is you guys had I knew you had both had young kids at the time, but I didn't think about that. That was pre-COVID. You guys were probably traveling a ton in those
Oh
roles,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was gone for at least 2 weeks out of every month.
Oh, were you really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I couldn't have.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Well, I mean, I know you still travel some now. It's funny. Like I don't travel very often, and I'm around the
Yeah.
kids all the time. I always think like, oh my gosh, if I was traveling all the time, like my dad had to travel. My dad traveled a ton too. I'm like, it'd be tough. I'm just so used to seeing them. When I go to Expo, I'm like, oh man, I haven't seen you guys in 3 days. Like what?
I know.
This
It's
is
true.
crazy.
It's true. I mean, my oldest definitely is like, sometimes they're like, you work a lot, but they know we're passionate about what we're doing. And I'm also like, you guys have no idea. I see you so much more now because I'm literally one room down from your
Yeah,
room. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I bet kids now they'll have no clue what it was like pre-COVID
No
to
way. Yeah.
be a kid. Like I know my dad was in racing, so he would travel. He'd
Mm.
be gone like Wednesday to Sunday night because the races were
Mm.
Sunday, and so he'd
Mm.
be like, and that was like most weeks for during race season. So you'd be home for like 2 days and gone again.
Yeah.
So when people have to travel a lot, that's tough. So okay, so you hold on. So you guys jump ship when you did officially jump ship. Tell me what the day was like where you guys gave your 2 weeks notice. Was it the same day? Did you guys both? Because that would have been I can only imagine actually being there in that office. They're like, wait, whoa, hold on, both of them? There's not a
Yeah.
story there. Did you guys?
Oh, I think it was a little shocking for sure. But I do remember the feeling. I remember we worked down in the city and I walked to the Art Institute after and just kind of sat there for a minute. And I remember feeling like such a sense of awareness of how my life was about to change and feeling so excited
Oh, that's cool.
by the potential of what we were going to be doing. Yeah, for sure.
Did yeah, I bet what was the first day of like waking up and you're like, okay, I have to do Haywell all day today. Do you remember that day?
Yeah. It's funny because when we started, you're like, now, now you're doing all the things. But when you first start, you're like, you're really thinking about your consumer and what problem you're trying to solve. And we were very much in the kind of mode that we had been in as beverage marketers.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about propositions and packaging and product and all these other things. And so that felt very much like a very intuitive extension of the kind of work that we had been doing. And so it just felt like us, but even more fun because it was ours.
Yeah.
But the more that we have grown and when we began to need to operationalize really the business, that's when it started to get really interesting, because we had partners that did all of those things for us before.
Sure.
We were pretty deep in a certain space. And now we had to, figure out operations and logistics and procurement and all the other things that were new to us, besides, really just being kind of tangential to what we did before. And so it was those first years, and even still now, I mean, we were on the learning curve all the time.
Yeah. How did you decide to split the house? Because you guys both were in marketing. So how did you guys decide, hey, I'm going to handle this, you're going to handle that? Did you guys just kind of drew straws?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of funny. I think we, I don't ever, in the early days, we did so much together because you're growing, slow and think everything's new and you're kind of learning together. And then over time, we did start to divide and conquer. Ashley ended up taking more marketing and finance, and I ended up taking more sales and operations. And it was more like what interests us, where are we getting energy from? And we just kind of shook hands and we, picked a few lanes and went.
It's funny. I feel like when you start anything, that's got to be a very consistent thing where people just kind of jump on stuff that has to get done, and it just kind of evolves, right? It's not, there's not a perfect business. I'm guessing, did you guys have a well thought out business plan type of thing? Because some founders, it's we had a playbook and a plan and we went and executed it. And in some, it's we had this idea, this concept, and we just ran.
I mean, I would say that we were more disciplined maybe than most, in that we did have a pretty thorough CPG background and a very strong training, in a big corporate CPG. So we very much had brand pyramids, and, we built plans and had very thorough P&L and all these things. But I think the thing about being an entrepreneur is every moment is a pivot, and no matter how thorough your initial planning is, you are always thinking about how what you made has to evolve. Sure. I mean, like I said, we started a few days before the world shut down. And so we had a very grand go-to-market plan that was very thought out. We were going to start in our backyard and then go east, actually. Then retailers shut down and they were only worried about toilet paper. And so we were like, all right, well, we are going to have to go online. And then pretty much immediately that threw most of our distribution out to LA. And so we were like, all right, well, we're not going east anymore, we're going west, we just had to, we've just always tried to be very open to feedback, very open to what's happening in market. And we always come back to that plan. I mean, we're so proud of that initial plan because so much of it is still exactly right. Mm-hmm. But how that plan gets executed and the nuance of the plan has for sure changed quite a few times.
Well, and I'm sure, just launching this right into COVID, that forced you to pivot, right? I mean, it sounds like, wow, I always forget that about your guys' story, that you basically got up and running right when the pandemic kicked off.
Yeah, I think we were delivering some cases out of the trunk of our car right as people started shutting their doors for the pandemic. Yeah, it was crazy.
Was that it had been a scary time for you guys?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because we gave up our very stable corporate paychecks and we had launched this thing with our savings, and we were like, what is going to happen? It was a very scary time. And, we were one of the first, if not the first brand to put adaptogens in a beverage. And so we were also a little bit we were a little bit on the front of that trend. And we were like, is this, good or bad now with the world changing? And, in the end, it was a tough time for retail, but it was a very good time for our proposition, and that the pandemic really accelerated people's interest in things like adaptogens and things like functional food and beverage. And so it was one of those moments that was a horrible time, for the world, but for our brand, it helped ignite it.
Yeah, for sure. 100% it did. So when you get to this point, I mean, COVID hits. Did you at that point did you guys have a co-man, and were you guys producing at that level, or how'd you with beverage? I haven't had that many folks in beverage on here, but for you guys, I don't remember this part. How did you guys go about like producing the first set of cases to then go sell, and where were your first points of distribution?
We had some partners that we had worked with at Miller Coors.
Okay.
And we reached out to them about doing some pilot production. So, it's a crazy time. You make like 3 pallets of product.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, every can costs like $17. And you're just really hoping that you have proof of concept with this. And
sure. Oh yeah.
So yeah, we made it out in LA at first because that's where, we knew of a pilot manufacturer. And once we, even in a pandemic, realized that we were turning very well, that when we could get a can in someone's hand, they thought it was delicious and returned to purchase or, ask for more samples or whatever.
Yeah.
We started to look for a co-man closer to home.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's a wild step in and of itself, right? Because from my perspective and where I sit, it always feels like switching to a different co-man. Is there like a pretty massive upfront cost when it comes to like doing these trial runs and getting to the point where you can actually sell product? Like for you guys, I feel like in beverage, like having the concept, making it at home or in a really small supply, but then actually being able to go and sell at places versus like protein bars where I came from, where obviously like Peter and Jared could make that in their parents' basement and then have like a commercial kitchen next. For beverage, it's almost like one extreme to the next, isn't it? Like you kind of have to jump to someone who can actually produce at scale.
That's right. And there are not very many places that kind of do all the things. They're either like scale or pilot or, and we use juices. So you have to have someone that has like juice certifications. You use organic material. So you need someone that can handle those kinds of things. We have a pasteurized product. So you need someone that has an inline pasteurizer. And, so trying to find people that like fit all these requirements is hard. We did have a partner early on called BevSource, who I would highly recommend. They're excellent. They are like production and procurement partners in beverage. And we went to them and we had actually a friend who had also left her corporate life to start a beverage company. And she was like, they helped me find co-manufacturers that meet all my specifications. So that has been was very early an incredible resource for us because they were like, all right, here are the 5 companies that do what you need to do. Go chat with them. And
And then at that stage, Britt, are you guys, like you said, you're using savings to get this started. Again, I'm always trying to think back to like what that must have felt like in that moment. Was it stressful in regards to like, because how many production runs can kind of get screwed up before you're like, shit, we're spending a lot of the money we thought this would take to get off the ground. Like I always feel like with beverage, like the 0 to 1 of getting even up and running is just so much more expensive. I don't know if I have full context around how much it is, but was that something that was nerve-wracking at first, or were you guys pretty successful early on with getting something ready to sell?
Yeah, we never had any trouble with the liquid. That for us was always such a clear opportunity. Ashley and I went into that process really very firmly believing in what we wanted to make and how we wanted it to taste. And we spent about a year. I mean, we left our corporate job 6 years ago. We didn't launch till 5 years because we spent about a year in formulation. Wow. And we just knew that if it had to be delicious. We did not want to taste any of the functional ingredients. We wanted it to be low in calories and sugar and do all of these things that are hard to do in functional beverage. And so we spent so much time in that space that we've never had trouble with the liquid. We were always so narrowed in there. But there are other things that come with operationalizing and packaging. For instance, we had a terrible time with like our sleeves at first. We had this like gorgeous silver logo that, when you first start, you don't print your cans, you sleeve them. And, the sleeve never went on correctly. And it took us so long to figure out, well, that's because the silver ink is warping. And so we had so many iterations of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you have to pay for that as the brand? Like, is the brand?
Oh, yeah.
One? Yeah. So it's just like keeps coming out of your bottom line. Wow. Wild. Did you feel like did you have any sort of a head start with this being at Miller Coors in that regard? Like, did you have enough people that you knew that you could kind of ask them these questions? Or did you feel like in that part of starting the business, you guys were really starting from ground zero?
I think from an operations perspective, we felt like we were really starting from ground zero. I think we had, there's an incredible training that happens in these in these big organizations, and particularly at Miller Coors. I mean, we were all certified Cicerone trained. We worked with incredible brew masters that taught us so much in terms of, helping us really refine our palates. I went to culinary school, so we had, you know, uh, from a liquid perspective, we had some incredible training that I think got us there. And then of course we had our marketing backgrounds and, all of that experience under our belt. We knew and, continue to know lots of people in the industry from that perspective. But it's all the other things in running a business where we had, partners that did those things in our past life that we had to learn, to do ourselves.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So COVID hits, you guys launched just before. What was the initial strategy? You said go east. So were you guys trying to get into specific retailers, or were you trying to sell first?
I think in general, we were just thinking that it was maybe more crowded on the West Coast from a functional perspective. And so we were like, let's maybe head east, try and differentiate ourselves a little bit in a less crowded environment. But of course it makes sense that it's crowded because there are a lot of consumers there that are interested in that kind of proposition. And so once we were online and kind of just looking at where a lot of our volume was going, we were like, okay, this is determining our strategy now. And so then we did kind of keep a very thoughtful approach about how we went to market. We've always thought about being in the right place at the right time for the right consumer. And that has really guided our distribution strategy from the very beginning. And anytime we really deviated from that, we regretted it. Oh, okay. And so, we really started in very influential accounts where we felt like the, front-footed consumer was at. So we started in places like Foxtrot and Air One, and then just sort of grew out from there in, concentric circles, and built on that initial influence.
Love that. That makes a lot of sense. You guys have, from just knowing you guys have been very, very thoughtful. That's a good word to put with you guys with retail. You guys have, as long as I've known you guys, I've always felt like you guys are very thoughtful with the path you're going down for that.
Well, and that I really will credit to Ashley. I mean, she has built incredible brands like Blue Moon and like Peroni, and they've had, she's taken, Blue Moon from this tiny little craft brand to the number one craft brand in America. And
that's right.
Don't do that overnight. And so she really learned from her experience in building those brands that you want to start in the right place, really establish yourself and grow from there slowly in the right way. And so that's really a playbook that we borrowed in launching heywell.
Very cool. I would take one step back. I realized too, to explain to everyone listening, like going back to product. Could you explain to everyone listening? So you guys have a line of caffeinated products, and you also have a line that's non-caffeinated. And I think that like the colors you guys decided to go with is really indicative when you see the full lineup. And then the flavors make a ton of sense too, in my mind. Could you explain to everyone though that's listening, like how did you guys come up with that? Because I think for a lot of beverage brands before you guys launched, there's a lot that kind of like leaned very heavy into caffeine and energy focused. And at the time, there really wasn't a lot at all on the non-caffeinated, like more like relaxing side of things. How did you guys, when you came up with the concept, how did you think about the two sides of product? I don't know if I've ever heard that story from you.
Yeah, so I think it's really two things. I mean, first of all, we always were putting the consumer at the center. So what are the problems we're trying to solve for in creating a functional beverage? And for us, it wasn't just about supporting energy and immunity or energy and focus or, mood support or any of the other occasions we solve, but it was also like at some point I want hydration support without caffeine. At some point I want something to help me, restore my body at the end of a long day that doesn't have caffeine, that might be a nice non-alc, or an alc replacement. And so, we were really thinking about it more holistically as a wellness platform.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And thinking about, how can we really be an all-day ally from rise and shine to relax and unwind to consumers to help solve these daily challenges that we have. So that was really kind of a guiding force in our innovation strategy and how we launched. And it is differentiated in that so much of functional beverage is single occasion or single ingredient. So you have like the mushroom brand or you have the Calm brand. And also I think for us, it was awareness of how big corporate organizations work. We've always had very clear plans to exit this brand, and we know that it takes big corporations a really long time to innovate.
Yeah.
And because of that, they have a hard time taking advantage of micro trends or even macro trends. And so we had to build something that created space for evolution as new consumer challenges come into play or as new ingredients come into vogue or out of vogue. We didn't want to be so tied to a single ingredient or a single occasion that would prevent us from creating a scale proposition.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And it does allow you to go really wide across a lot of different, use cases, I would say. It's really cool too, because I don't think there's very many brands in CPG that have done a very good job of, like, I can have your product in the morning if I want caffeine. Definitely I love heywell in the afternoon. But then the evening non-caffeinated products are fantastic for that, like just winding down and having something different in the evening, especially someone like me. Like I haven't been drinking very much. So it's it's something fun to be able to actually have and enjoy and relax with. So it crosses a lot of different use cases across the day. I think that was genius move on your guys' part.
Thank you.
So then we launched, we're up and running. What was it like the first few months of, like, you're obviously available in a few places back then, like at the very beginning. Were there any like major hiccups, major crazy things that happened that were a big surprise to you and Ashley?
I mean, aside from the pandemic.
Yeah. Outside of that small
Outside
detail.
of that. No, I mean, I don't think so. I remember, you're delivering out of the trunk of your car. You've got like 5 accounts and you're so excited. They're ordering 2 cases and you make those deliveries and it takes you all day long. And that's what your day looks like. It's very much like make the most of what you have. And can you create a cold following in this one account? And does that then make the account down the street, want to carry you? And so we were just so focused on trying to, flint a little bit of a spark and just blow on it.
Sure. Yeah.
To keep it going. I think there's so many hiccups that happen, over time. Like I mentioned, we got into an account during the pandemic that we really never should have gone into.
Okay. Sure.
But we were like, retail was shut down and we were like getting nervous about our investment in the business. And a retailer came calling that we knew was not in our plan for quite a few years. But we said yes, because we thought this would be, maybe we should take it. Maybe we need to change our plan. And we should have known when they told us like their expectations for velocity was like 0.2 cans per SKU per store per week. We're like, wait, you mean 2 cans? And we're like, no, 0.2. And we're like, okay. But see, that should have been assigned to us, that we're like, that's not the right account for you, right?
Sure.
And so, we stopped shipping there because we realized it was a bad spot for us. So there were so many moments like that where we like learned hard lessons and had to pivot. And honestly, it kind of happens every day. And in the beginning, it can kind of shut you down, and you have to learn to move very quickly from oh no to now what.
Yeah.
And the faster you can move to that, the better off you're going to be. And it used to be like we'd just be for a week, we'd be like, oh my God, like fretting over something, and now we're like, and now you just know because it's going to happen 10 times a day, and you're like, all right, well, now what do I do about it? And it just gets you in that kind of grind mode in a good way.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like I was talking to someone recently. They have like a W-2 corporate job, and they were asking about like brands I've talked to. And I'm like, the one thing that's very consistent, and I can vouch for it too. It's like the feeling is kind of like if you're in a W-2 job, it's like you're getting like you guys. You're used to just kind of having like a lull, and then maybe you have like a really good week, or maybe there's layoffs and it's a horrible time for it's a quarter that you're impacted. But I said I feel like entrepreneurship, and everyone I've ever talked to on this podcast, it's kind of like you're getting hired and fired every single day. It's just like all day. It's like one extreme or the other.
Yeah. And actually, we come to look for it. Like if we're having a terrible day, we're like, okay, well, something good's going to happen, because it's just the nature of the beast. Same thing. Like you don't get too excited when something good happens because you know you're about to get punched in the gut, right?
Right.
But it's you come to appreciate the ride for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys are very present in the moment. I appreciate that about you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
So fast forward a little bit, you guys are getting doors. You guys have still been very methodical. Like I give you guys a lot of credit. Like as the conversations we've had, off air, I always thought you guys have been very methodical, very thoughtful. We got to share too. I mean, you guys just launched in Target. So that's a huge account. I want to make sure we plug that for anyone listening.
Thank you.
You got to go check it out. I did get some, my wife got some the other day. We went over to Target and I was like, make sure you grab heywell. And she said that the set looked great. and everything was looking good.
Thank you. Tell her I said thanks.
I will. So explain that one. That had to have been, was that like a kind of like pinch me moment? I feel like, especially being like Midwestern people, like getting into a Target account for a brand that you created, that had to have been a crazy moment for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when Ashley and I started, so we talk about our mission to be making wellness more simple and accessible. And, in addition to wanting to make something that was high quality and effective and delicious, we really wanted to create a new, more welcoming and inviting version of wellness. We felt like when we launched, there was one kind of wellness, and it was very militant, and it was for a certain kind of person with a certain kind of body. And look, like, high fives for people that are doing that, but we were like, there's also a joy in knowing that little steps make a difference. And we wanted to say, like, no matter where you are in your journey, we like to say, like, wellness doesn't come in a can, but we can help. And so when we were imagining this kind of more welcoming and inclusive version of wellness, a retailer like Target was at the center of our bullseye.
Okay, cool.
Because we're like, who is an accessible retailer who is still doing beautiful high-end things and making, progress in wellness? And so it was a dream come true, to get into Target for sure. But even that's been like, it's always a journey, right? Because when we set, the team wanted us to go into 1,200 stores. And to your point about being like disciplined and feeling okay to say no, we said that's too many for us to start.
Wow. Yeah.
And we have always been, our strategy has always been to like kind of start small, go in, do it the right way, kill it, and grow from there. And we as beverage marketers know how expensive it is to do something the right way. And so we wanted to make sure that we had the right footprint to, start our journey the right way in that account.
How did that conversation go? Like, how did you guys decide to go back? And I'm sure you guys had to have like run the numbers a million times and talked about it ad nauseum before. Cause that's such a big thing. I want to pause on that because I do talk about this at our X Bar. We said no a couple times to some major retailers. And I remember like we'd walk out of the meeting and be like, shit, we're really saying no. Holy heck. Like, it's a big deal. Yeah. So not that you said no, but you just said it's too many. What kind of went into that? And how did you guys ultimately decide to go back and tell them that?
Yeah. I mean, I will say we say no all the time. And we feel very empowered by that. And I think it starts from that initial lesson we had with that retailer that, like, if we know this is off our strategy and we're not ready for that account, I mean, you never want your distribution to like outstrip your awareness. And like, there's just some principles that we've sort of learned.
Sure. Yeah.
And we also know, like, we've taken a little bit of a different approach. We have kind of bootstrapped. We haven't raised a ton of money. And so we have been really thoughtful about our P&L and how we get to profitability and all these other things. And so, when we said yes to Target, but to a certain amount of stores, we had to say no to other accounts too, that were in our plan this year. So you have to make some tough trade-offs sometimes. But you know what I will say, like, Target was like, okay, fine. They felt like they want to be good partners themselves, and they want to make sure that it's, a good arrangement for everyone. And they were like, that sounds good. How about, we said, how about, not to 1,200, maybe 400. And they're like, how about 550? We were like, okay, fine. So
I mean, that's a great position to be in, though, to like say like, hey, we want to service you to the highest of our abilities. And we are aware enough to know if we do 1,200 stores that we might not be able to, it might just not be the best outcome for all of us. And you were here for the long term, right?
Right. Exactly.
So now that you're there, you're in Target. That's huge. Congrats. What's the next 12 months, 24 months, 36? I know no one knows. That's too far away in CPG. What's like what's the horizon look like? Where do you hope to see Heywell be a year, 2 years, 3 years from now?
Well, I mean, we're really excited to start to get into scale mode. I mean, we have taken like a more steady approach to our growth. We've been doubling our business every year, really in those early years, making sure that we had proof of concept and, sticking close to our distribution plan. We're super excited for a couple things. One, we're turning on marketing for the first time. So we're marketers that have not done a whole lot of marketing. We've really been like so focused at the point of purchase and getting a can in someone's hand and just really trying to be very efficient with the resources we had and leverage the assets that we had, which was this like really delicious, beautiful product. But we're starting marketing for the first time really in the 5 years since we started this business. So turning on all of the stuff, Ashley and I like to say, like, we feel like we're just like starting to be dangerous because we're like,
well, it's gotta be exciting. It's gotta be exciting to like be doing all that when that's like what you guys used to do. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
getting back to what you guys, did for so long. It's got to be
that's
a
right.
super
Yeah,
exciting moment for you guys.
it is for sure. I mean, we're feeling like we're kind of coming into our like core capability. So that's super fun. When we started this, it was with the idea of creating scale and functional beverage. So, we feel like we have the right to win in this space for some of the reasons that we talked about. And so we're going to be doing a Series A at the end of this year, which is really
Nice.
exciting.
Congrats.
Raising like our first big round of capital. I mean, we've definitely been supported by some incredible angels and some small VCs, in the last 5 years, and excited to bring them along on this next phase of our growth.
What does preparing for a Series A look like? I don't know if I've ever asked that question to anybody. Is there like a lot that has to go into preparing for?
Oh yeah, for
a
sure.
big round?
And really, I would say we started it 2 years ago.
Sure.
First of all, you have to be thoughtful about the kind of partners that you want and what kind of money do you want to raise. And so you spend a lot of time. And this was a space new for Ashley and I. We have never raised institutional capital before, given our corporate backgrounds. And so we had to kind of get some good advisors on how the space works and what kind of partners are going to align to what we want for the business and our value proposition and our goals. And then who are the right partners within, that vertical. And so we've been really having chats with these folks for years because, someone doesn't just write you a check like immediately. You build relationships, right? It's like anything else. And so we are just, have been doing our best to create as much value in the business as we can before this moment. And, excited to have a few strategic partners to help us, take it to the next level.
That's amazing. Congratulations on even
Thank
getting
you.
to that point. I mean, it's crazy probably to think like going to lunch and talking about it in the office to raising a Series A. That's a magnificent leap you guys have made it across. So
thank you. I mean, I will tell you, like, still nothing is better than seeing someone holding it on the street. I mean, it never.
I can't even imagine. I feel like that's gotta be the coolest. How often do you think you guys see that happen?
Well, we're in our home market, and we have
sure.
a lot of distribution here, so it happens more often than you would think, and it's hard. It's hard being an entrepreneur, and it's so rewarding. But, those moments when you see someone enjoying this thing that you made keep you going, really fuel you.
I can't imagine what that feels like, honestly. That's got to be the coolest thing ever. When you're like, oh, wait, look at that. They're holding heywell. Do you ever stop people, or do you just look and you're like, that's awesome?
We don't say anything, but it's so, I have a friend who sends me pictures every time she sees it in like a trash can somewhere.
That's actually
she's like,
really funny.
You made it, like when you have like the trash.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's funny.
Yeah, so
very cool.
It's really fun.
So that's lots of big things coming. One question I've never asked you, I know we're getting close on time, so I got a couple quick questions I want to hit you.
Yeah.
One is like, you guys came from beverage. You're obviously now, for everyone listening, and I'll have links in the show notes, like the amount of items you guys have, I think is very impressive, like across the span of different product types, flavors. What is it? Do you guys think about innovation in like other categories? Does this expand outside of RTD ever in the future potentially? I've never talked about that, funny enough. But
yeah, for sure. We have this is one of Ashley and I's favorite things to talk about. We have such an innovation pipeline, and that's one of the exciting things about the platform is that you're not just tied to beverage. You have other spaces that you can evolve into. That being said, like, we know there's so much low-hanging fruit in our space right now.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're very focused on beverage right now, but certainly we can imagine lots of other stretch opportunities for the brand.
I love that tease. Everyone listening is going to be like, what is she thinking?
What's next?
What is she thinking? All right, Britt, this is my favorite question I love to ask at the end, which is, what tools do you use to surround yourself with, from like heywell long-term goals to things Britt wants to achieve this year, all the way down to what's the shit you got to get done today? Like, are you a pen and paper person? Do you have apps? What are the tools that you surround yourself with to run heywell and ultimately get stuff done?
Okay. Well, I would say that number one tool that I'm most proud of is surrounding myself with really smart people.
Oh, okay.
So, I think fundamentally, Ashley, one of the things Ashley and I are so good at is knowing what we're not good at. And I think we have worked so hard to make sure that we have like the smartest people in our circle that are like challenging our thinking. And so if I had to pick one thing that is like my tool, I would say it's that.
Wow. Okay. I love that.
At the end of the day, I mean, I'm definitely like, I have a giant notebook sitting here next to me. I'm constantly jotting stuff down. The other tool that I've learned is to like leave myself voice memos, which my husband does not love, in the middle of the night all the time.
Oh, what's a good idea?
Because my brain is always on, and I'm sure it is for you too as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. There's like
Yeah.
3 a.m, you wake up and you're like, oh, I gotta do that XYZ. And I have learned like I gotta get it out of my head, because what
So
happens
you
in
just grab your
it's
phone. You're like,
Mhm.
here, you start talking.
I do. I just like
Scare the shit out of me if my
Yeah.
wife started doing that.
Oh my God. He sleeps with a pillow over his head now. I've like not endeared myself to him with that. But if I don't, then what happens is I'm awake for the rest of the day thinking, don't forget that thing.
Oh, smart. Okay.
And so just getting it out and knowing I wrote it down somewhere or recorded it somewhere, then I can go back to bed.
Yeah, that's a great hack. Oh, I love that one. I need to use voice more. It's like one area that I honestly just like don't leverage enough. Whether it's even, I realize like I'm the worst. This is the funniest thing to share. I'm like the worst texter. I think if someone watched me text my phone or email, I'll like type and I misspell and then I have to like back up. And like I realize how much time I waste. I bet I would just do better to do it. But the voice on iPhone sucks. Like every time I do it has no idea what I'm saying. So I don't know.
Well,
That's
I feel like that's
though.
I think my kids taught me that. I mean, they don't type anything now. They're
No?
always, it's voice everything, So
Oh, they're smarter than us.
that's right. Yeah,
Very cool.
teaching this old dog a new trick. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the very last question, just source
Okay.
of knowledge, just because you have an extensive background in CPG and beverage, but anything that comes to mind immediately for like a book, a podcast, anything you've read or heard recently that you think that the listeners would enjoy today?
I think I would say it's not one thing, but what I really try very hard to stay is to stay curious.
Okay.
And I think that was one of the things that this desire to like feed my gut and feed my knowledge base was one of the things that made me so successful in my corporate career, particularly in the types of work that I did. So whether that is listening to a podcast or reading a blog or whatever, to try and just really stay curious, ask myself questions like, why do I think they're doing that? Or, and just that helps me feel like I'm being intuitive and always learning. And it helps me keep the consumer, at the center of our bullseye too. And so I would say like, it's a little bit agnostic of a thing, but it's like a philosophy around staying curious.
Love that. Very good. That's awesome. Well, thank you,
Right.
Britt. I appreciate it so much. For everyone listening, I'll put links to Heywell in the show notes so they can find it. I'll put links to you and Ash so you can find you guys.
Awesome.
Anything else we should let everyone know before we drop off?
Just give us a try. We've got a fun BOGO right now. So
Okay, there we go. We'll tag all that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
definitely go give it a try. I'll put all the good places to find you guys. Well, Britt, thank you so much.
Amazing.
I'm pumped we got
Oh
to
my
get
gosh,
this
my
done.
pleasure.
This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll
Awesome.
talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you, Britt.